Hello everybody, Kieran here with Explorminate. Welcome to another Let's Play video here for Endless Space 2. This is still Update 3, but as you might notice, this is a very different map. So my recent absence in videos has been due to, just life being a little busy, but also the fact that my saves all got corrupted. Which really sucks, because I was having fun with that Let's Play, and I think there was a lot of engagement from the community. It seemed like a lot of people were taking time to watch it, so that was great. Hopefully it was informative, helpful, etc. But it is no more. I have worked with stuff in the forums, tried reporting it and stuff. It's, they're down to crunch time. They're what, like 6-7 days from release, I think, something like that here. This is May 11th today, so pretty close. I guess I don't remember the exact date. So their least concern is fixing a saved game bug, which I don't fault them for at all. It just kind of stinks. Bound to happen. It is an early access game, and they are burning the midnight oil to get this thing ship shape for launch, which it's come along pretty good. I mean, there's definitely things I think could use some improvements. But like, all in all, this is a pretty complete game. If they patch a few things in and whatnot, make turns go a little faster, take care of some of the bugs and whatnot. But anyhow, this video is going to be about the laws system, because that's the most different system, I think, overall that I'm seeing in this game compared to both the previous, the original Endless Space and Endless Legend, which are kind of the two main series Amplitude's moved up with. So I'm playing a game with the Sophons. We're about 82 turns in, I guess exactly. And yeah, so here we have it. These are my leading political parties. Here we are. So let's get to this. And what this is going to be, I actually had a video, if you're curious. I kind of broke down how the elections work and things from a previous, this was probably back like months ago. Check that out if you're curious in how this works. I'm mostly going to be comparing and kind of critiquing the law system a little bit. So what it is, this is basically your influence. Remember, there's that big circle that you choose different sides from, and the more you invested in different kinds of influence a game, the more expensive it was, and it was like every 20 turns, big boom, you choose it, right? So that 20 turn plan was kind of cool because it forced you to plan ahead, forced you to make some tough decisions. The law system is a little bit more dynamic in that you do have elections every 20 turns, which kind of influence how much your people support the various political parties. As you can see, this is tracking my support of the different groups. But you can pass and abolish laws at any time. You start out with 2 slots. One is always going to be active based on, well, basically your leading political party. So right now I'm scientists, so I can research technology for the next stage, which in all honesty, well, we'll get back to it. Anyways, let's just go through the laws real quick. So we have independent laws, scientific, pacifist, ecologist, is it ecologist? Yeah, ecologist, religious, militaristic, and, oh, did I say industrial? I must have. Anyways, those are the 6 main leanings. And I'm going to go through and just kind of blow through these play by play so you kind of see what the game has to offer, and then break down the systems a little bit. And then obviously throw some critiques in here. This is by no means not meant to be a review. I'm not doing the review for Endless Space 2, thankfully, because I feel like that'd be... when I say thankfully, it's just there's a lot to it, right? It's nice to be able to play a game and not have to review it sometimes. But regardless, we're going to give a few critiques here and there. The first thing, they added independent laws, which was a really good idea. Wasn't there originally, and you were always just stuck with what you have. Independent laws let you spend influence for a bonus. So you got Super Tax Act, take an approval hit for money. You can increase, larger host bill, another independent law, more capacity for manpower. which is necessary for defending your worlds, attacking others. Basically, think of it as your soldier population. Toys for boys. Approval at the expense of science. We can do science at the expense of money, or more science at the expense of happiness per person. So that's going to be a lot more overall than, well, maybe not a lot more than overall, but and then finally we can do approval for money. So this just lets you balance out your empire, and these are all they're pretty even. You know, if you have a weakness or a specialization, you can focus there. And then finally parks, not quarks. More money for less science. So it's pretty evenly filled out. And it should be pointed out, as long as you have a political party that has been in power long enough, at least winning an election enough, they gradually gain power. I wouldn't say power, but more like competency. So if we look here, I'll go back to all. This requires a potent establishment, potent, established, functional. That's how powerful the party is. Think of it as in, political parties in the real world. You don't have a party emerge and then become victorious and the all-consuming organism right away. Sure, they can grow quickly, but it takes time to establish the bureaucracies and the support and the lobbyist, whatever, right? It's kind of what this is trying to mimic. So theoretically, it might take 20 to 60 turns, well, more than 20, less than 60 maybe, to go from something like functional up to potent, at least a few election cycles. So you can't just do a complete 360 from a completely pacifist empire to like you're the most militarist dude in the world. Galaxy, excuse me. So that's kind of an interesting setup there. But with these laws, one thing that I kind of critique, I don't feel like they're all created equally. They tried to make them meaningful, but I just really don't feel like they're all quite equal. Let's go through them real quick. So with the Industrialists, you get plus happiness for 5 turns. When you get a new colony, okay, temporary boost. It's not that long. This guy improves the generation of strategic resources. Really cool, actually. An extra boost. You can do more health on ships. Again, pretty good. And plus 3 industry per planet, per person on the planet. Great, right? So this first law, I think, kind of sucks. I mean, it's nice to get that influence boost, but you're not going to be constantly acquiring planets, even if you're on like a warmongering path. Like, that's not really going to off-put war wariness incredibly effectively. I mean, I guess they don't want to give you just a win card so you can stay happy and completely dominate everything, but still, I think there's a large difference between this, and this is a pretty good one, and something like plus 20% health on ships and that production. Like, that's literally every ship is basically every 5 ships you have an extra one if you count the health, right? Jumping over to science, we've got movement points on ships. That's again the one I'm just kind of like, well, it's like there. Would I use it early game? Maybe, but you still get landlocked with other competitors in terms of like places to colonize, so not too much. This is pretty good. Minus 20% cost on systems, so I mean, it's a complete, like, just, I would say, from a decent ability, decent to like kind of junky to like all of a sudden like, wow, that's awesome. More food on systems, which I don't get how that's more potent, because again, I find when my systems, I'm on turn 82 until I can learn to colonize more planets, like the gas planets or the volcanic planets. I've maxed out my population. I mean, it's just kind of like, well, 20%'s nice, but you really are limited with growth. It's not like Endless Legend where you can continually just grow a city. You're locked. This one, potent, plus 33% damage to weapon modules. Whoa, you're just like, that is crazy. That's on a whole nother level. It's kind of cool. It's with the scientific focus, I think, rather than a militaristic one, but still. The fact that you get plus 20% food for 3 influence upkeep a turn, as opposed to like plus 33% weapon damage, I don't feel like those really compete with each other. Especially where later on in the game, 50, 60 turns in, if you invest in food production, like, you're fine. You can move people between worlds and things. So again, there's some kind of gaps there, right? Pacifist, you get bonus money and generation on luxuries. So it's kind of the flip flip side of the strategic production one. Happiness for alliances and peace. Diplomatic cost reduction makes sense. More income per trading company. Um, I go through there. Interestingly enough, the default law for the pacifist gives you plus 10%, like the FIDs, so just your total income uh, per each piece, and plus 20 per each alliance. And that was awesome. And then the scientist took over, and I'm like, no, I don't want the scientist to be the leading political party. So let me take a step back for a second before I blow through the rest of the laws. It's a great system in that it's like reactionary to what happens. I think that's really cool. You get attacked, the militarists are going to gain some power. But on the flip side, like, it's really hard to influence which way things are going the way you want. These are all determined by, so the pacifist, dust generating buildings, pacifist heroes, trading, engaging in friendly diplomacy, encountering civilizations, owning the marketplace. I mean, how many civilizations are you going to encounter, right? And after about 20 turns, that bonus goes away, as opposed to scientists. Oh, they're not going to show up here. There we go. Buildings generating science. Well, you're always going to build that. You're dumb if you're not. You're not going to go all military and just like, I'm not going to invest in science buildings, right? You don't play 4X games that way. It'd be like if you never built libraries and civilization. That would just be ludicrous. Searching curiosities. Again, you're going to turn these over as you explore because, by golly, you want to find the hidden, like, strategic resources and luxury resources. You have to do little research projects on planets to find those, which is a cool feature. But again, it drives me towards scientists. Exploring the galaxy, that kind of happens. Science agreements, not so much. Unlocking higher technology stages, it's going to happen as you go. And then shared vision. So a few of those don't happen too much. I guess they're trying to balance against that. But things like searching curiosities and, building science buildings, like, that's always going to happen. Same thing's going to happen here with income generators, but I just feel like it's not on the same level. I'm trying to keep the pacifists in power. I'm supporting them, but I can't. And we'll get back to some of the other things associated with that, I guess, in terms of I'm a Sophon, so things are going to influence the science side of things in a minute. But so there's a little bit of frustration there for me, where I have tried to be a pacifist. I'm playing as a pacifist. I only have like 4 military ships on turn 82. But the scientists are winning. So let's jump back into a few more laws here. So in terms of ecologist, never even gone this route. But there's some interesting laws. Let's blow through them. So plus 20 food for anomalies. That's decent. That's actually a pretty good upkeep per turnout. I mean, 20 food, that's decent. That's like a building. So that's nice. Luxury cost for increasing population growth. That's cool. You can influence which population you want to get, but okay, it's not that amazing. Like, you get some bonuses from getting to certain tiers, but it's not really like make or break. If we look at another like tier 2 ability over here, 20% improvement cost reduction, that's on a whole nother plane than, like, you can tell which population to grow more. Like, at one part, that is important because those populations, those minor groups, are going to have things that help you, but you only need one per system. So, I don't know. Doesn't seem amazing to me. Some more approval. No approval loss from overpopulation. This one's pretty cool, though. 10 production on systems per population. That's actually really powerful. That keeps you happy and produces stuff. I would say that definitely rivals. Well, it's on par with the other level 4. When I say level 4, I'm going to just refer to the influence that they're generating. So level this, level that. Anyhow, let's finish up here. So religious, kind of an interesting collection here. Experience per heroes per turn. Now, there's another really good one. and it just doesn't seem to go along with the others. Like, do I want my ships to move a little more and I don't have anywhere to move them a lot? Or do I want my heroes to just constantly level up? I mean, okay, that doesn't quite seem balanced. Only your starting population can increase. That's actually a really interesting one, and I feel like you should have more hard controls like this in the game in general. When I say hard controls, like the political parties, right? I feel like you should be able to expend influence to actually like boost those and things, not just one-time little, oh, here's this, but your planet's still like, well, we built 3 trade depots. There's not trade depots, you can't build 3 of them, but like for general analysis sake, that's uh, I don't know if this is making any sense. It's doesn't seem incredibly balanced, this system, which, if you can't tell, I'm a little agitated about it. Mostly just because I think it has the potential to be an amazing system, like one of the most intriguing NF4X I've seen emerge in like a number of years, at least personally. And some people might disagree. That's totally fine. I get that. This might not be for you, or you might think the system just sucks. I could get that. But I think the idea of the game influencing how you play is a pretty cool idea. It gives you something else to work with, that's a little bit more random, which I think 4X sometimes can use. If it plays like a spreadsheet, like an Excel spreadsheet, it's not the best, right? But at the same time, this is not an RNG focused game. It's not off random loot drops, right? It's not a Diablo 3 or something. This is meant to be a different game for a different audience, but there just seems to be some discrepancies here on how these work, at least to me. And if you disagree, that's totally fine. Throw it in the comments. I want to know what you think. If you think it's great, tell me where I'm wrong. If you agree with me, let me know. I mean, I feel like this is something that's going to get another pass in one of their expansions, definitely. It's a functional system. There's nothing wrong with it, but I'll draw some more comparisons here in a little bit. Let's keep going on. Approval rating is forced to content. That's actually pretty good. If you have a huge empire, you're going to take happiness penalties, or if you're a long war, happiness penalties. That's really effective to force just a baseline happiness that in most cases would probably be increasing it from something really low to higher than you could get. And then the Peace and Prayer Act, conversion bonus multiplier. It seems a little muddled there, the way they have that. It looks better than the previous update. They had literally, I don't know if it was a formula or just kind of like, it was something in there. It wasn't real words. But it seems like basically this is going to be influence flipping basically, which is pretty good. Potentially really good, I suppose. And then finally the militarists, the level 1 is ships 10% cheaper. Okay, then this is another one. Okay, my stupid ships can move 2 more, or I can literally just build fleets of them. How is one equal to the other? I don't quite see how that's equal. Yes, I realize movement can be important, but for the 10% ship cost, I can just get the movement module on there, build something else, and build a bigger ship in the same like amount of turns, right? So I don't feel like that is equal with what is it? Yeah, Star Boogie Bill, the movement there. Spoils of War. This one's pretty powerful for number 2, for like a level 2. 50 dust, 50 science per enemy ship destroyed. If you're blowing through, fleets of 10, 12 ships, if they're small, that's gonna add up really quick. That's a lot of bonus. That could be 20% of your scientific output a turn. That could knock sometimes off science, which is cool. Makes sense, I think, from a lore perspective. Us or them, happiness for war. That's really, it just works in with the synergy of being at war, I think. And then cheap and cheerful, damage weapon module plus 50%, and troop manpower costs a lot less. So again, that's actually pretty good. So I feel like the level 4 laws are pretty good in terms of they're not too overpowering, and they're specialized, something to work towards. And they're expensive. I mean, 4 influence per person in your empire, that's gonna add up really quickly. But it's everything from 1 to 3 that more especially is kind of bothersome, and I don't think it's quite as maybe balanced or useful in here. Um, yeah, I don't know. I know I'm not satisfied with it, and I guess I could keep rambling about the laws a little bit, try to bring this back to base a little bit. Um, the system of enacting and abolishing is cool. The system of trying to balance your people is cool. In theory, I think the way it implements is a little troublesome. Especially, let's look at religious here. Buildings generate influence. Those don't come as often, I feel like. Maybe they do. Maybe there's 6 of each. 6 influence, 6 industrial. There's not, though. I feel like there's a lot more for industry than influence. Recruiting religious heroes, that's not anything different. Assigning religious heroes, not anything different. And capturing systems via influence. So, to play a religious game, I feel like that's going to be a lot harder. Because there's 4 things that feed into it, as opposed to a science, there's 8. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 8. The pacifist has 7. So yeah. I'm going to throw a crazy critique out there, and it's probably wouldn't balance and work very well. But honestly, I would rather see you invest influence in the political parties, and that's what shifts them. You can still be influenced by what happens, scientific events. There are the random events in the game, which increase certain ways your people are going to drift. And since I'm a Sophon, automatically any event that's scientific is boosted from the regular 2, I believe, to 3. If we're looking at hard values here. So it's going to swing me that way. And that's part of the reason I'm so scientific. Obviously I was complaining earlier, I want to be a pacifist. But it is a little, what's the word, disheartening if every time you play, you couldn't play a militaristic Sophon as easy. Well, you could actually. You could spam a bunch of ships, but could you play a religious Sophon? I mean, that maybe Amplitude want to control us from a lore perspective a little bit. Well, no, they're scientific. They would never be religious. But you could have a cool hybrid, hyper religious, scientific sect or something. I feel like Stellaris gives you a little bit more wiggle room and making the race the way you want it. And part of this could be changed when we see custom factions. I don't know how that's going to influence what those traits are going to be. If you're going to be able to make Sophons, if you just say, no, they're not scientific, if they're religious, boom. A lot of my concerns go out the window there. Because then that adds a lot of ways you can customize the game. Because there are distinct differences between ship sizes, number of modules on ships, and things like that. But I kind of don't think there's going to be that level of freedom, just because Amplitude typically has very narrative-driven races or factions, which is great. Don't get me wrong. I mean, that's one reason I think Endless Legend is such an amazing game, is because they really were able to intertwine the story with the 4X. But in this instance, I just wonder how that's going to hurt replayability. For example, Cravers have some really good bonuses for the unspoiled worlds or whatever it is, where until they basically drain the world of its resources, they get a bonus because they just over-harvest it until it's a husk. And I saw some interesting discussions on some forums about, whoa, what about a pacifist Craver strategy? That would be awesome, because you stack the bonus from having peace with their bonuses of having slaves and draining planets, and really quickly you could get what is the slave bonus? Is it 25% along with an unspoiled world, or is it 50? So anywhere between, I don't remember the numbers, but let's say it's 25, not 50, and anywhere from a 50% bonus to your output to 100%, and then the passivists just throw on top of that for everybody here at peace with. I mean, theoretically on a large map, you could have a 200% output bonus on worlds until they're drained, and then that drops down to 150. That's still amazing, and that would be really cool to play. Like, I think it's not Craver, it's not how the Cravers are at all. So again, I understand they are all about killing and death, and they've got a really cool introductory movie to prove it, right? But yeah, so just some thoughts there on the law system. I haven't experimented too much with the governments. I mean, I've played them all with the factions, but it seems like they maybe aren't quite as balanced. Let me see. Is it going to show me the bonuses? It's not going to show me the bonuses. So we can't compare those. But I guess that's another topic for another day. It's kind of related, but kind of not. So a lot of cool stuff going on here, whether it's the graphs or the census. And you can really break it down and see the numbers and pretty well see where stuff's coming. I just think the system's not quite there. You know, I said I was going to draw some parallels with Endless Legend. Increasing your damage by like 50% was pretty cool. That was a pretty high level thing. They kind of have that with the weapon modules bonus here, right? But at the same time, like 25% like happiness boost, that was pretty cool, and it wasn't that expensive. I feel like Endless Legend hit it on the head where that influence circle, remember with like the 4 tiers each way, really made me make a lot harder decisions than the law system will. I don't think it's necessarily because you're locked in for 20 turns, and at any point I can abolish a law and establish another one. Let's get that movement bonus. Boom! It's not because of that. I think it's the actual laws you're choosing. And I understand where instead of 4 sides of a triangle or a circle, there's not 4 sides of a triangle, my goodness. You've got 6 different political parties you have to balance, and they have to work for everyone and things, but so there's a little bit more there balancing, but still would like to see some more work done here, I guess I'm saying. So especially where it is my favorite new system in the game, hands down. I think it's great for the flaws I'm going to claim it has, whether I'm right or wrong. It's pretty cool. Whether it's you have heroes leading political parties, you have to make some tough decisions on which laws, and it is expensive to maintain these. If we actually had an expensive law, like 3 a turn, 160, that's 120 influence a turn. I can't even begin to afford that. If I abolish that, I get close, but I'm still negative every turn, and that's with quite a bit of influence I'm popping out, right? But yeah, I think that's where I am with it. Wish you had a little bit more control over your people. Because where you can influence it with like bribing parties or giving official support and things, it is frustrating at the same time when you're just like, dang it, I really want to build those new 3 science buildings because I want to keep ahead on my scientific curve, but I'd really like to play a pacifist Sophon, and you can't. So, again, not a bad system. I don't think a perfect system, and part of this I'm sure is because I don't quite have all the systems figured out, but with about probably 50 hours in the game almost through early access, I'm not a noob, right? There's a lot of folks out there that know a lot more than I do at this. A few of you in the comments for my Let's Play series, for example, gave me excellent feedback, and I learned some things. I appreciate that because those were things I could not learn from the menus that just I missed one way or another. But there's also, I think, some of that reflects the limitations with the law system. But anyhow, so just kind of wanted to break that down because that's one of the major differences with Endless Space 2 compared to the original. Gonna go ahead and well, do a couple more videos probably before or pretty close to release, just showing off a few of the systems that really make this stand out. Because if you've played an Amplitude game before, you know what their bread and butter is. They keep with that. The narrative, the really great artwork, um, all that stuff. But, they're trying some new things, and I like to see that. I don't want to fault them for that. Because otherwise we get a bunch of cookie cutter games that all play the same and just have different, interface and unit skins, right? And we don't want that. But for where it is, it's a good start. Not a great finish yet, but I have faith they'll get there with the level of support they typically give games. So anyhow, I'll leave it there. Don't want to rant forever, but let me know what you guys think of the systems here. And yeah, let me know specifically if there's any other videos. I'm thinking I'm probably going to do one covering trade a little bit, but we'll see. So thanks for watching. Check the game out. I've got a pretty good Let's Play series on here. Jump in with the forums if you're not sure if this game's for you or not. I mean, by all means, putting this content out beforehand so you get an idea of what it is. If you haven't jumped in yet, want to get your toes wet, this is a good way before you have to put any skin in the game. So check out what we have. But thanks for watching. I'll leave it there, and we'll catch you guys next time. Until then, thanks.